Hey there guys, and welcome back to Nerds, Geeks, and Internet Freaks. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a few different things, but first of all, I just want to make a correction to last week's show. When I was talking about the Razer Switchblade project, the compatible gaming laptop that, has wireless and whatever and all that stuff, I said I don't know if it's going to be shelved. I don't know if it's... I said that I didn't know what happened to the product. Well, it turns out I did some research, and they've actually released this product now. For CES, they're doing a giveaway where the first person in the world, I suppose, to own one is going to be able to win that from submitting an entry for a contest from CES. So that's pretty cool. So, they're releasing the Switchblade, and then there's also Project Fiona, which, more on Project Fiona, which I mentioned last week, was... they brought it to CES. It actually won the award for most interesting tablet of 2012, or it was something like that. I might not have that exactly right, but it won the award for that, and apparently it's going to be really great. Swifty got to use the prototype, and he said that it ran Skyrim with no lag on ultra settings, that it ran better than his PC. So I'm actually a little bit more excited for that product. Last week I kind of talked down about it. I wasn't so sure if it was gonna really be worth buying, but it actually seems like it's gonna be a really cool product. It's got 8 different buttons with the 2 different joysticks, and they're saying that it's gonna run all your PC games on ultra settings perfectly well. So it's actually a pretty impressive product. I kind of rescind what I said last week about it. Moving on, of course, there is patch 1.1 in SWTOR, which came out. It released the level 50 only PvP bracket, which a lot of people were excited for, but what I found out from seeing what people say is that, pre-mades are kind of just wrecking the battlegrounds right now. They're controlling PvP. If you're solo queuing, you're going to have an issue where you're just getting loss after loss after loss, and from what I've heard, a lot of people just aren't really enjoying that, because if you have to have a straight-up PvP guild with, all the gear that's got expertise on it, so that way you can go out and PvP and be successful, it's bothering people now, because the servers are not totally populated yet. You still don't have a lot of level 50s, and you've got people, waiting for 20-minute queues now to get into Battlegrounds when they're level 50, and I'm hearing that it's not quite as great of a decision. They could have done something better with it, which, I agree, but personally I'm not playing SWTOR, so I don't really know a whole lot about it, but yeah, that's what I've been hearing. And so there are the level 50 bracket, and 1 to 49 now is apparently its own bracket, so, maybe they could have done that a little bit better. Maybe they could have waited till their servers were a little bit more populated. I'm not exactly sure, but that's something to think about. Next up on the list, Dragon Soul on January 31st is getting a nerf similar to the ICC nerf that we saw back in Wrath of the Lich King, but let me explain the difference. In Wrath of the Lich King with ICC, what we had was a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30% buff to player damage, player health, and player healing. Now, this is going to be kind of the opposite. They're going to be progressively nerfing the content with this buff. Now, the buff is still going to be removable, just like it was in ICC. You're going to be able to talk to an NPC and get rid of the buff if, your guild wants to still try and progress through the raid without using that buff. So that's really cool. But instead of buffing the players, because see, the problem that happened in Wrath of the Lich King, which we all experienced, was you would go into Icecrown Citadel and you would be pulling 20 or 30k DPS by the time that the buff reached 30%, and then you would go into Trial of the Champion, which was a whole tier earlier, and you would be doing less damage because your player wasn't buffed, and it made people feel like they were only powerful in ICC, and that's not the kind of experience that Blizzard wants to portray. So what they're doing is they're just going to progressively nerf the content in Dragon Soul. So the bosses are going to do less damage, they're going to have less health, and that's pretty much how it's going to work. And people are saying, well, if they're nerfing the content, aren't players just still going to do more damage against the bosses? Well, no, not necessarily, because nothing's changing with player damage. The bosses are just going to have less health and do less damage, and, they're not going to kill your tanks as faster. It's going to be lighter on your healers, and so that's pretty much the change. Now, personally, I don't know. I think January 31st, I think it's a little early. Personally, my guild just killed regular Deathwing, or Madness of Deathwing, last week. This week we started progressing on hard modes. We killed hard mode Morchok, and we're moving on to some of the other bosses, and we're a 10-man guild. We're pretty casual. I mean, we raid 3 nights a week, and I just don't feel like we even need that buff yet. I mean, January 31st is right around the corner, and it feels too early. And what the posts that they came out with in Blue Post said was that, you know, you'd be surprised how many people are hitting walls. In my guild, personally, we did hit a wall. We hit a wall on normal War Master, and we were stuck on him for 3 weeks, which I'm sure some people are laughing right now and saying how pathetic that is, but we were stuck on him. The next night, after we finally killed him, you know, we one-shot Spine. Well, we didn't one-shot it, but we killed it in one night. And, you know, then we moved on to Madness of Deathwing, and we had him down the next week. And Morchok, I mean, he took us one night as well. We downed him, and we kind of just started clearing other bosses because we still need gear. And I don't feel like there's any reason for a nerf yet. I feel like if they waited maybe till February or even March, I mean, you got to think about it. We haven't even seen a Mists of Pandaria beta yet. We're still looking at patches that are going up on the PTR. And I don't know, it just feels too soon. If the content's going to be so nerfed by the time March hits, I mean, if we're at a 30% debuff to the bosses by the time March comes around, what are raiders going to have to do? You know, what are people who don't want to go PvP or don't want to go participate in the other areas of the game? What are they going to do? It's not going to be fun. And I feel like progression just doesn't have the oomph that it used to. You know, it used to feel like you would spend forever on a boss, and when you finally got it, it just made it that much more powerful. But when you're killing a boss, and then you're killing the next boss in one night, it already feels so weak to me. And I know that hard modes probably are a little bit harder than they should be, but even then, maybe not necessarily, you know? Hard modes are meant to be hard. They're meant to be for the high caliber players, and I don't necessarily think that they should be nerfing hard modes for people like me that are coming into hard modes. Because I know that with my normal gear, I'm going to need to go through and clear that content over and over until I have the ability to progress through hard modes. And that's how it should be. They're, however, not nerfing LFR, which, thank goodness, because there's no reason to. And last but not least, the senior producer of Diablo 3 from Blizzard has now left the company after 5 years, saying that he's moving on to bigger and better things. Now, apparently, the separation from Blizzard was on good terms. He really enjoyed working at the company, but he wants to move on. He has left the development team, and now Blizzard is looking for somebody to replace him. And I don't know, with the lead producer of a game like Diablo 3 leaving, what do you guys think? Do you think that could affect the game? Do you think that it could have a really big impact on the game? Do you think it's not going to be a big deal? I don't know. Leave a comment in the comments section. Let me know what you guys think about that. Could be interesting to see who they hire. You know, are they going to maybe put somebody on the project from within? Are they going to hire from outside? Who's it going to be? How's it going to affect the game? You guys let me know. Thanks so much for tuning in to Nerds, Geeks, and Internet Freaks. I will see you guys next Sunday.